Hello everyone, welcome. Today I have a very special guest, my own mother, Allison Peterson. And she started teaching me violin when I was 2.5 years old.
Yes.
Yes, and all 4 of my younger sisters. And we all played through college. And many of us still teach today. And a lot of us, we all perform together as well.
Right.
So now when I was in high school though, you started teaching me how to teach. And I thought that was very useful because I didn't necessarily remember what you'd done when I was 2.5. So I needed like coaching on the basics. And so can you share a little bit with us? How do you motivate students to practice? How do you motivate your own children to practice? Question a lot of us have. So.
Right. Well, it is a trick to think about your children and how to get them motivated. And so I start with the age, you know how old they are, the very youngest, and which Suzuki encourages, ages 3, 4, 5, you can start. But you think about a child, they learn a lot from playing games. And so I try to make it fun using games. Now this can lengthen their practice session because you have to, try to get something accomplished on the violin. And then when they get it accomplished, then you might go play a game. So it kind of can make it a little bit lengthier.
Right.
But you're playing with your child. And they love that. So I used a lot of sticker charts for when they're little. This is Ashley's little girl. Last year's St. Patrick's Day chart. This was March. And you can see on here we used a lot of stickers, and she was this is finding notes on the piano, but we could do it also on the violin. And, I just do this, and this was April. So lots and
she
lots.
loves the stickers.
Of stickers.
Yes, very motivational.
So that is one way to do it. So in Suzuki, they do a lot of what we call drilling, and you go over and over a technique that you're trying to accomplish. So there's just different ways to motivate that. So that one of them for like little boys is, you could have one of those little basketballs, nets and basketballs, and after they've done like 5 drills of, a rhythm, then they can try to shoot 5 baskets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My students have enjoyed that for like music camp, but I maybe could even try it during a
Right.
lesson. Right.
And so that's been helpful. I like to do crafts myself. Probably the little girls like the crafts a little bit more, but like let's say we're in January. We might build a snowman. So I will already pre-cut out like 3 circles and a hat and everything. So for each drill that they accomplish, they get to add, the eye, one eye, and then the carrot nose.
Right.
And so you can do that for different months, come up with that month's,
Bunny
theme.
and Easter or something like that.
Right. So that's another thing. And you don't have to, spend a lot of money. Do it out of construction paper.
Right.
Or they could draw it. So this is for the very young to do. 7, 8, 9-year-olds, they still like stuff like that, I think.
My daughter's 6 and she's definitely still
so.
into crafts. Now when you get to kind of the more middle school years, I know it can be a little bit trickier to find motivation, but do you have any suggestions for that?
I sure do. So they should be able to, think longer, farther ahead. So I have done like month practice charts. And one of them one time was the kind of a pathway like Candyland. And so on that pathway that day, there might be a special thing they get to do, like go play lightly row outside. You can't do that with piano, but
right.
or on the 5th of April, go play it in every room in the house.
I can remember that, from when I was
right. So just as a parent, you need to study your children and what motivates them. You will know better actually than the teacher. And remember, the teacher is the coach and you're the trainer, the daily, following up and training your child in the Suzuki method. And if you're not doing the Suzuki method, definitely the parents, you still can encourage practicing. So practice charts.
And the drills.
And the
or
drills.
Any instrument.
Right.
Any method, really.
Another cute, game I found was musical Yahtzee.
Oh,
And
cute.
so, yeah, so
Oh, that does
this
sound
is really
fun.
cute. And, just that, it's the same with the upper and lower section. You have dice to go with it. It's eighth notes on one side, quarter notes, and then you add that up.
Oh, cute.
And I've done that at music camps.
And that
a lot of
definitely would be
times.
good for your middle school age, for sure.
Going back to the younger kids too, I found this is more recent find for me, is I love to practice kit games for Suzuki students and their parents. And this correlates with the Suzuki, songs.
Right, especially
So-
book one, I think, for this one, maybe.
Yes, and so like, here is, the rhythms of Twinkles. And so you roll the dice, and then they go that many places, and then they play that rhythm. Let's say they, throw a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they do strawberry, what I call strawberry. And this is a
triplet,
fun,
yeah.
yes, triplets. And so that's fun, and then they have cards in there as well. So this is I thought was a really good find.
Yes.
And I didn't
I've
use
used
that
it
with
too.
you.
Okay, well, I
It
thought as a
wasn't
teacher.
even here. This was
Yes.
more with our youngest child and more recent students. Also, these are great, just rhythm bingo. There's level 1, there's level 2. And this is probably better for older students, not the
Would you
very
say more
young.
the middle school kind of preteens or even high school?
No, I'd say elementary.
Oh, elementary,
Not
okay.
not 3, 4s. This is too advanced for them.
Okay,
And there's a lines and spaces one as well.
that'd be helpful.
So
And that looks like it could work for violin, piano, either way.
right, so this, if they know they get to play this after they kind of work on their violin, they enjoy that. So.
I remember my youngest sister said that was her favorite part of lessons, was getting to play games with mom. So.
Right. Now, I wish I would have done more of that with Ashley.
I'm the
but,
oldest of the 5, so yes.
But I did one thing with them that was fun at that time to distinguish me from being their parent. When I was teaching them, I would make her go outside the house with her violin and ring the doorbell. And then when she came in, she had to call me Mrs. Peterson.
Yes.
And not Mom. And
Yes.
so that kind of helped shift gears in
Right.
her mind,
And
I
this was
think.
kind of elementary school. and
Yes.
like- Now, do you recommend at some point switching, if you're a music teacher yourself, having them get an external teacher as well?
Yes, definitely. When they hit, I think you'll know, when they hit, especially 12, 13, 14, it really does help to have an outside teacher. But again, the parent is the one that follows through with the practice at home. And I encourage dads to be involved, be their cheerleader. For some reason, if dad is an encourager, it happens a lot better. Also, especially with boys, and it just does.
And I have quite a few little boys right now in my studio, so.
And if the dad
Yes.
is really backing it, at home, you can say, hey, give me a concert, and just have them play for you, and really be the encourager in that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, how would you advise non-musical parents? Do you have any suggestions for them? If they feel like they have to already know music to come into lessons?
Actually not. In fact, some of my best students have been parents that just wanted them to play violin or wanted a musical experience so badly. And they were really dedicated, and they studied their child, what motivated their child, and got it accomplished. They didn't have to know music per se, but they had to know their child. And that's true for a musical parent or a non-musical parent. Know your child and what motivates them. One of the most fun motivations for me to observe was this mom. She was using candy always works really well. But a lot of us don't want to give them candy, but little chocolate chips, for doing motivation. I kind of said, well, why don't you, use a chocolate chip for, doing each of the twinkles or something. Well, maybe that 5 or 6 chocolate chips were too many for a 4 or
Right.
5-year-old. She bought the mini chocolate
That's
chips.
smart.
And I thought that was so funny.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Did it work still?
It did. Oh,
Yes.
yes. So I know if you don't want your kids to have a lot of candy, I get that. So find something.
Stickers, pennies.
Pennies, and then also have short-term goals for them. And like this chart, you could say at the end of the week, that, okay, if we accomplish all of these things this first week, then, maybe we can go do something special with mom or dad. Or you could do it as they get older, wait for the whole month. But that's a little harder. That's harder. But at the end of the month, it could be something they could go buy. Anyway, or
Right.
another fun activity is to make, just with construction paper, those chains.
Oh,
And they could
yes,
just-
the link chains.
The link chains, and then they can see how far they've come. So you could do that for practicing every day, or you could do it for accomplishments, that you,
I need to implement that one. I think my daughter would.
your
love it.
Annalise
She'd
would
be
love
all
that.
over it.
She's all into craft.
Oh yes.
And
She's
see
very
how
visual.
long they can make it. So,
Yes. Now sometimes, believe it or not, the music teachers were the ones who struggle sometimes the most with our own children. We're so used to working with our students, and I do think that the relationship of teacher to student is different than than parent to student. And so we sometimes struggle with our own children. How would you recommend that we help our own kids succeed when it feels different to us than our students?
it's a real challenge. It really is. Every child is so different, but yes, kids kind of buck their parents.
And I see that with, my students bucking their own parents, and they'll be great for me,
Right. I think the thing to remember is that you're looking at the whole child, and you can see in the future better than they can. And so sticking to things and just making practice part of their day, just like if they were to brush their teeth, if they are doing their homework, if they're that age, it just needs to be part of their day. Consistent practice makes them play better. It just does. So if you are skipping a lot of days, they're not going to be very successful at it, and they know it. And so then they don't like what they sound like and get discouraged. They maybe won't say that, but that's really what does happen. And so they need to feel like they're successful at the instrument. And if they keep it up through middle school, by high school, a lot of times, they know how much effort they put into it, and they keep it up. So, we haven't talked a lot about the high school students.
Do you have any motivation
Because-
for high schoolers, or?
Well, I'm finding that the high school students and middle school students are very social.
Yes.
And a lot of them right now are drawn to sports, and I think it's because they get to be with their friends. So I have really implemented a lot of trying to play groups in groups. And
Yes.
so that's part of the Suzuki, but really middle school students and my high school students are involved with orchestra at school.
I know mine have been begging to have, yes, like the group experience, and even my most advanced one, I thought she might have outgrown some of the more kiddie stuff, but she's begging to have camp again because she wants to play with her friends.
Right.
So I've even thought about doing, the outdoor options,
Right.
maybe like a spring outdoor recital or something, or playing chamber music or something like that.
Right, I'm doing some Telemann 4 violin concertos with my students as, so it's not the big group, because we're
Right.
being challenged with COVID with all that, but
Yeah.
it's the smaller group. And the middle schoolers are really loving it.
Yes.
And I also, during that time, we don't just always do music, we kind of talk about fun things, what's
Right.
their favorite movie, or, try to bring out their personalities, and so that they get to know each other. I kind of think about sports and how they get together
really.
and try to make
You
them
want to create
bond.
this kind of studio community, I think.
Yes.
that They bond as a studio, and I think that makes a big difference if you can have these kind of group events.
And then performing out as the group. I've had students come back from later, they've grown up and they just, I loved going out and doing runouts, and that was back in the day when we could do that.
I think it'll come back.
Right.
Yes. So even I'm trying to kind of focus a little bit on how do I help my middle school and high schoolers with motivation. And last year I did a book club, when we were all stuck at home, and it was kind of a book geared towards middle school, high school students, or late elementary, and they just loved that. One of the dads said after his daughter read the book and we got to meet together with the author, and his daughter was just way more motivated to practice, and I think it's because she could connect with the characters, and then she also got to connect with some of the other violinists in the studio. So I'm working towards that now, kind of for a high school version as well. So they really do like the social.
But if they could be in an orchestra,
Yes.
it's very helpful to motivate them.
Whether it's
when
school
they're in the
or youth symphony.
right, some kind of social part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for talking to us about this today. I know it's a very interesting subject for all of us teachers and parents. So, and you've raised 5 of us to all be professional violinists and teachers. So,
And I've been through it with our children. They didn't always want to practice, and I found out later that when I was trying to practice with her, she sometimes didn't want to, and because she wanted to be playing with her older sister. And that makes sense. I didn't know it at the time, but it totally makes sense that she wanted to be playing dolls with her older sister.
Right.
So, so we've powered through, I would say, and in our household it was just a given.
Right.
We played music, so again it was in our schedule. It just was, and it wasn't really an option. So most of the time you all were cooperative. Sometimes the actual lesson, I had to get their attention, and they weren't always paying attention. It is a challenge, and I do feel for families, but it can be done, and just make sure you love music as well, and that they see you loving music and you listening to music and all kinds of music. We don't just listen to classical in our house. We listen to all kinds. So.
And that can be motivational too, that sometimes I'll give the dessert piece at the end. Like I kind of use the meal analogy where it's like your technique is kind of like your vegetables and your fruits, that you've got to have that. And then your main song being kind of your entree. But then I'll sometimes throw in that dessert piece at the end that's maybe a different genre. So it might be fiddling, or it might be, pop song that they like, or they're playing a hymn at church with their friends or something. Right. And that can be motivational, I think, too, with the different genres. So
it can be done, and just enjoy your children and make it fun for them as much as you can. But there is sometimes just the buckling down and doing the work. I didn't mention, a timer.
Sometimes. My daughter does get motivated by the timer. Yes.
So just be creative. It takes a little bit more work to be creative, but if it's important enough to you, you will do that. And just enjoy playing with your child, especially the younger ones. Enjoy that time with them. It goes by fast. So now they grow up.
Yes, that's true. Well, thanks again.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for asking.
My pleasure.